All right, guys. Hey, how you doing today? Welcome to the next episode of Clay's Cortex, the podcast. We have back Mr. Charlie and Tim. Now we got Charlie Rowe, Tim Livingston on again, and we're gonna kind of continue the talk about muscle system specialists and so forth. But the topic today is going to be related to this awesome, I would call blog post, article. What would you guys call this?
Oh, the blog post, yeah.
Yeah,
that's about right.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. And so it's a blog post. It's really good, right? So it's called "Is Your Body a Money Pit?" And they take you on this journey and compare and contrast with this movie. And of course, it's got Tom Hanks in it, and he's awesome, very diverse. I would say he's a robust actor, right? Anywho, so yeah, welcome back, guys, and so we're gonna kind of get into this topic about is your body a money pit, and I guess the first place I'd like to start, if you guys are cool with this, is what inspired you guys to compare what muscle system specialists do related to this movie? What was the process of you guys starting that?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, for me, it's just, being stuck and watching old movies. And, for what we do as a muscle system specialist, I'm always looking for ways to explain it to people and using a lot of different comparisons in everyday life or things that they'll understand.
Yeah.
Just so they'll be able to kind of understand what we're trying to do. And as I'm watching this movie, I'm thinking, oh my God, this it's really kind of a cheesy old movie. It's funny how all these things are happening. And I'm just kind of thinking back to the body, because that's where my head goes. I'm like, oh my goodness, like all these things that are happening are no different than people who are exercising or not understanding their own limitations. Mm. And similar to this movie, the comedy of these things unfolding, it's not very funny when it happens to us in our bodies.
Right.
And that's one of the strengths of being a muscle system specialist, is to have this diagnostic process, of collecting data, making decisions, and, relating it back to this movie. And, I ran it past Charlie, and he was laughing too. And we started just, brainstorming and coming up with this blog post thing.
I love it. Yeah, man. I mean, it's pretty crucial, decision-making process, right? It's so crucial. So let's continue on with that, right? So if I read an excerpt from your guys' blog post, I would call it, I keep wanting to call it a paper, but it says, does your, where'd it go? Does your body feel, it says, Hank's character at one point claims that he's fallen victim to the money pit, right? Does your body feel that way? Does the never-ending process of paying for an array of doctors, therapists, trainers, and pharmacists make your body feel like a money pit? Especially when it really does not seem to be getting better. I think that's pretty powerful. So how can you guys attest to, and obviously in the movie, I haven't seen the movie, right? So, I'm in the dark right now. I'm going to lean on you guys, right? So the movie's about them buying a house, right? And so all these things pop up.
Yes.
And the funny thing is the analogy you're using, which I'm a big fan of analogies, just because I feel like it kind of pulls out all the disconnect of having to explain something super complex. And then once they get that concept, right, we can start to dive deeper into that, which is cool. And so I like that you guys wrote about that in this blog post. And, I'll get into why I think houses are money pits a little bit later on. You guys know we had a dishwasher issue here. But yeah, so what do you guys think about the whole, how have you guys responded to people saying, or maybe using this analogy with them, like, man, do you feel like you just keep seeing people all the time, blah, blah, blah? You know what I'm saying?
Well, it was the perfect analogy when, Tim and I were talking back and forth, and he's like, I just saw that movie on Netflix, that Money Pit. And, we're showing our age because it's old. It is old. It's an old movie, but yeah, I mean, I thought that was a perfect analogy for that, because I can relate to, there was a time, my mid to late 20s, early on in my career, had knee pain,
Mm.
and I felt like that. I was just that quote, Curse, that you read. I felt like I was going to, I was doing physical therapy. I was seeing orthopedic doctors. A chiropractor said that he could help me. Another person, wanted me to see a foot specialist that put me in orthotics. I went back to another orthopedic doctor, put me on anti-inflammatories. So all this time spent, all this money spent, and just like you read, especially when it really does not seem to be getting better. And I think there's so many people, fortunately, that have issues, whether it be knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, what have you, that can relate.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think it was, go ahead, Tim. Go ahead. Go, yeah.
So and especially in the movie, it's a classic, I guess. That's what we call older things that make it sound better. So this classic movie where they get this house, they do a quick inspection. I mean, they just walk in and it's a beautiful mansion. I think she even throws in the car or something as a, buy it today type of thing. And they don't take time to explore and hire an inspector or anything, because it's the fantasy of owning this house at a really good price. And I remember, and I see this all the time, is, we have this fantasy of health, and we have this fantasy of what we want to look like or how we want to perform. So we just start doing things to get there. There's no diagnostic or anything, and we just start doing that. And that happened to me. Okay, I want to perform better. I'm going to do. Now, why does my shoulder hurt? Why does my knee hurt? And then you're kind of chasing these problems, and while you're chasing them, you're trying to choose exercises that don't hurt. And you're going based on sensations. You're like, all right, well, that felt okay. I think I'll do that again until it doesn't. And then all of a sudden you're trying to, okay. And then you just stop working out eventually because it just hurts too much. And then you have to shift your goals. I don't want to spend all my money on orthotics or, all this medication or these doctor visits. And you get frustrated and you might just quit.
Right.
So it's why I was like, oh, this movie is just so perfect.
Yeah, man, I love that. And I think what's interesting, I'm not trying to, play what's called devil's advocate here, but I never really had any injuries. The only things I really had was baseball from playing sports and so forth, and tweaks here and there. But you're as an athlete, you're just you push through it, and whatnot. But lifting wise, I never really had any injuries and stuff. And I realized exercise did help me. But when I was in college doing that stuff, I couldn't tell you why. You know what I'm saying? Based off of the knowledge that I have now, I knew that when I did exercise or, I'd listen to my body, I feel like I've done pretty well with that. I think a lot of people don't listen to their bodies, right? And I guess if I was to pull an analogy with that, if I'm going to invest money into a house, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I know everything about that house before I step into purchasing it. And I guess you could say the same thing about a relationship. I mean, it's oh, wow. I mean, I saw this article or this news report saying that singles are having a tough time with COVID and going on dates. This is what they're doing now, right? And, they interviewed all these people. It was a pretty big news station. They're it's been great. It's been awesome because, the virtual side, we can actually interview the person without, we can talk to them. We can get deeper versus the beginning when you first start dating, you're trying to impress the person, which I'm not saying you shouldn't. And all type of stuff to make yourself look like this beautiful house that they're going to want to, purchase. Right. And it's wait a second, are we actually doing our due diligence? I think what you said, Tim, is really cool because you said we're not doing any diagnostics. We're just starting. Right. We're not doing any upfront work to figure out where we should start on our journey.
Well, I think it's about avoiding these emotional decisions, the fantasies or the emotion that's involved in that house. Oh, this house looks great. I can picture this without actually doing any of the research, right? Or the relationship thing that you said was perfect. Oh, wow, I'm very attracted to this person. I don't know anything about them, but now all of a sudden I can see myself with them and I'm not paying attention to these flaws because I didn't do any sort of research. I'm just emotionally invested. And I think that can happen a lot with our bodies. We may go, oh, I feel pretty good. Yeah, I think I can do this. I feel, which is an emotion, I feel good. So therefore, I should be able to do something else
Right.
without doing the research or doing anything to really kind of stand by a decision like
For sure, man. I mean, I think it's interesting, and I think the emotion aspect of things is crucial, right? Like, and we know, like, and people are saying it, I feel like more and more now in the exercise industry, that how you feel affects how you physically feel impacts your emotions. It impacts all those different types of things, and vice versa, right? And so, that's why when, like, I know sometimes when I do a certain lift or an exercise or whatever it is, I get done sometimes like, oh man, that felt good, right? And I get like jazzed up, right? Sometimes I'm like, I don't like that, and so there's these things that tie us to, man, that's really cool. Or a new exercise comes out, or you see it all over Instagram, and you're like, I got to test this thing out and see what it's all about, right? And it's crucial because our emotions play a huge factor into how we approach treating our bodies. And I guess when it comes down to that, our sensations are almost like, people say like, oh, it's this thing right here. Like I know he's saying, Mac would say in the muscle system specialist course, it's this thing right here. And you're like, I don't know what that thing is. I can't feel that, right? And so we make decisions based off of feelings. And like you said, Tim, emotions, right? And so it's like, wait a second, how can we get around? It doesn't mean that they're not important. It doesn't mean that what they're feeling isn't important, but unless I'm inside their body, like I just jump into it, we can't really feel like, oh, that's what it is. And communication is crucial in that, and so, yeah, it's super interesting.
and that's kind of what we touch upon in this paper or blog.
Yeah.
Is knowing, right? Like there's a funny scene where Tom Hanks is climbing up the stairs and they just basically fall out from underneath him. And it would have been good for him to know that the structural integrity of those stairs was suspect before he went up and did that. Similar to if someone's knee is, not moving as well. And we have ways to figure that out so we can, again, going back to what we talked about last time is, that silly thing, but putting the personal back in personal training, right? Like,
Yeah.
Based on this for your knee, these exercises I think are better versus you going out and doing something and then finding out the hard way, which is what most people do.
Right.
Because in the moment they might run or do something or squat or deadlift and they feel good. They have those endorphins, which, what are they? Painkillers, right? As they're going through that experience, they think it's great. But then why 2 hours later are they limping? Or is their knee swollen? Or wouldn't it be good to know something about their knee prior to that experience? And that's kind of what we're talking about.
I guess what's interesting too is that I don't know if I'm thinking about this, that people they I'm not saying everybody's optimistic, right? But they're like, if everybody is exercising and everybody's doing this, and they got these results, I should do it, right? Because I think the hard part is that we all believe to some aspect we're the same. We like to lump things into the same categories, right? Like you look at the house, like, oh wow, that house looks great. Like if you went and asked, like if I went to 24-hour fitness or some type of gym, Gold's Gym, or whatever it is, and I went around and did a survey and asked people that were quote unquote jacked, fit, whatever, and I asked them, hey, how do you feel? How does your body feel? Why do you do that exercise that way? They might be like, I think a lot of them would be like, dude, I look good, but I don't feel good. It's like taking like my first car I had was my second car I had. Second car I had was a 1983 BMW 318i. I love that thing. Stick, right? It looked great, but there was a lot of work that had to be done to that car to make sure it was running very well, right? Or it could run efficiently. And so I think that, yeah, the aspect of like, we feel like we should, like, I want to look like that. But if you think about it, it's like, do you really know how that person feels? We do this whole visual check. We look at somebody and we're like, oh, they're fit, they're healthy, they must feel good. That's not necessarily the case. And so I think that if, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that's kind of touches on the one sentence we wrote here that says, we wish we could tell you that all exercise was equivalent and beneficial, and that no matter what you choose to use for it, it'll benefit you.
Mm-hmm.
even with exercise that might seem simple and easy to do. And unfortunately, we cannot. And I think that's the hardest thing. And that's probably my, my biggest, when you go on Instagram and you see people doing all these things, your average lay person might see that and think, oh, that's great. And that's where they can end up getting hurt.
Right. Or on the flip side, too, they could also be like, wow, that looks really cool. I can't do that.
Absolutely.
So they don't do anything.
Absolutely.
And it's like, wait a second. Come on.
Or I don't look like that, so
Right.
I shouldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly, man. I think that's what's interesting.
I think a lot of people focus on with exercise, like they'll say, oh, here are the rules of this exercise.
Hey.
Right? And the thing is, they don't know the rules of their body, all right? Because no one's ever explained it to them in that way. So they don't know if it's appropriate. There's no way of knowing. And they just do this, quote unquote, rule of the exercise. And it may be a positive experience. It might be a negative one.
Yeah, man, I like that. The rules for, how do you say that, Tim? The rules of your exercise?
There's rules of exercise. Like we sometimes say, okay, if we're going to do a squat, then
Yeah.
Here's a thing on Instagram or you name it. And I see that. I see how they're doing it. That's the quote unquote form. What they don't know, unless they're working with a professional like us, is what are the rules of their body? Like,
Right.
Can they bend that way? Can their joints move that way? And they might be violating that unintentionally, and it may not cost them that much in the quick interim, but over time, the cumulative effects of violating those rules of your body could lead to something more serious.
Yeah, man.
Well, if they can, even if they can do that, they can do those things. The other challenge that, at least we can evaluate as muscle system specialists is, well, did that exercise, did that move their nervous system and affect their nervous system in a good way?
Ooh.
Or did it affect it in a bad way?
Charlie, talk more about that.
Let's, Charlie, come on. Come on, Charlie.
Tell us more about that.
Come on, Charlie. Bring it, man.
Well,
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I guess it's a thing I've been using a lot as of late, and with our phase 2 process. It's just evaluating their strength and endurance, but checking their stability, right? So checking certain configurations. I'll just throw out, we talked about knee flexion earlier. So, check various configurations of knee flexion.
Hold on a second. So Charlie said this word, guys, configurations, right? And so if I was to relate that in a term for you guys to understand what Charlie's saying with that is, I'm strong and I'm gonna use a general exercise, right? And I'm strong in doing a flat dumbbell chest press, but when I do an incline dumbbell chest press, that position or configuration is way harder, or we would say low quality, right? And so if I relate those, he's talking about configurations, which is different positions. So he's talking about knee extension. So hopefully that makes sense, right? So if you guys have probably experienced that, essentially like I do a dumbbell chest press, flat bench, I'm fine. And I do a slightly inclined and it's way harder, or I'm not very good at it. So when he talks about configurations, he's saying positions of motion, essentially. So I digress. Charlie, keep flowing. Come on now.
Okay. So yeah, let's just say, I check knee flexion under different positions, right?
Okay.
I check them supine. I check them prone. I check them seated on a table where they can bend their leg back. I check them side lying. I check them standing. And they all are, as you said, Chris, they're all high quality. They're stable, right? Well, then if I put them under a certain force scenario, like here at the office, I have a seated leg curl machine.
Ooh.
I might put them on that seated leg curl machine, and they might do 10 reps with a certain amount of weight, and I might ask them what their effort level was on a scale of 1 to 10, right? 1 being super easy. They feel like they could go on all day. 10 being there's no way they could do another rep. And they might say they're right in the middle of that scale. They say that they're 5. But I might recheck those configurations and all of them go low quality. 3 of the 5 go low quality, right? All things that interest me because it's telling me there's a little bit of an overdose. They're in some unstable positions right now. They're demonstrating low quality stability. Vulnerability is what I was looking for.
After they fatigue or after they do the exercise, right? So I guess if I'm thinking about this too, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, is it's looking at how well their body can handle consistent reps or endurance within their body. And in this scenario, you said knee flexion, correct? Correct. So knee flexion. So how well their knee flexors are able to withstand stress and still remain high quality or stable. And that's what you're saying, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah. Which is cool, right? I mean,
did that exercise potentiate them, move them in a good direction, or did it make them low quality stability?
Yeah. Is it helping or hurting? What's the exercise doing?
Yeah, man. Which is so cool, man. I mean, it's like, you think about it. If I take the car that I drive here, the car that I have a 4Runner, right? And so, I'm not an off-roader, right? Can the car off-road? Yeah, potentially can. How am I going to know? I got to test it and see. And then say, for example, I took that car, I went up in the mountains, right? I'm a mountain man. So I went up in the mountains, came back down after that trip, and the car was kind of feeling funny. I bring it to say my mechanic or my tune-up shop, and they're like, dude, what did you do to this car? I was like, I went off-road and it's a 4Runner. And they're like, yeah, it's meant for that. But did you turn it to that 4-wheel drive? Did you turn? I'm like, no, dude, you just go. Right. And so I think in that scenario too, it's also how you perform the exercise, how you choose to use your body can impact how much you need to, quote unquote, see a mechanic, see a therapist, right? All a different type of stuff. And I'm hoping that in that scenario that I just said with the car, they'd be like, hey, next time you do this, bro, you as the driver need to remember to turn that dial on your car so it's meant for off-roading in that scenario. So that's the beauty of, I believe, a muscle system specialist, is we can start to educate people on how many reps, how many sets are good for you in this certain manner. We're educating the people so that they can learn to take care of their body, right, and so forth, or take care of that money pit. You know what I'm saying? So, I love that, Charlie. I think that's really cool, and I don't know many people that actually check in that regularly when it comes to being a trainer, exercise professional, so forth. I don't know how often they're checking in of like, did that exercise do good or do bad? Because go ahead.
I was just going to say another, speaking of movies, a quote for some reason that comes to mind is in Training Day. When Denzel Washington says to Ethan Hawke, this is chess. It ain't checkers. And I love that quote because in regards to exercise and what we do as exercise professionals, that's how I feel.
Okay.
This is chess, man. This ain't checkers.
Yeah.
This is, we're doing sophisticated stuff. We're solving problems. You exercise to do it. But it's not just this, we're putting the personal back in personal training.
Yeah.
This isn't just come in. Yep. I want to do this exercise with you today because I feel like it and I know you like it. No, this is what we got to do. This is how we got to do it. This is going to be the dosage. This is going to be how we're going to set up the resistance because it's specific to the person.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, if I look at your guys' blog post that you did a little bit further down, it says, as certified muscle system specialists, we are like the house inspectors, right? Able to assess, I almost said access, able to assess your body and see where the risks are and help you avoid them, right? I mean, dude, so crucial. I mean, if you look at what's going on in our nation right now with COVID, and we're trying to figure out our COVID-19, we're trying to figure out more and more about it. They're finding people with comorbidities and underlying conditions, right? And some of them are like, not lifestyle choices, just like, holy cow, I didn't know I had this thing and whatever. But to be able to combat those things with exercise, I mean, there's articles coming out about how exercise can help with COVID, right? It's like, well, why is that, right? And as a muscle system specialist, the information we've been taught, learned, and the research that we all continue to do and share with one another is showing how much exercise impacts the entire system of our body that's made of systems, right? Same thing in a house. Even though there's parts of a house that have different systems, they're all working together at some point, right? I mean, they're all working together.
Yeah, not to bring up a painful topic, Curtis,
Yeah.
but that dishwasher problem, were you concerned all about the floor? Dishwasher.
If I can be real, we're renting this house. So was I concerned? I think because of my nature, yeah. I mean, it's not my house, but we live here and I take pride in keeping this place good. I mean, there's like,
So I was thinking about, well, the dishwasher affects the wood floor, which affects
sure.
everything, furniture, which can now affect electrical work and all these different systems.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a problem in one system and it can carry over into others, just like in the human body.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the funny thing, I guess, going off this whole having a house inspector is, my wife doesn't want anybody coming in the house right now, right? And, we're kind of the same way. We don't know what people, cleanliness they follow, but we got to get a dishwasher guy or girl to come on out, right? So emailed the landlord, told him I tried everything on my own. I thought maybe the drain, I'm not a professional, so I did what I could to figure out, right? And I was like, it still ain't working, bro. Right? It's just not draining this water, right? So what's crazy is there's a virtual, I guess, dishwasher guy. I have the link, right? So I tried the best I could. So I have a meeting with him where he'll virtually have me run through some tests. Can you do this? Can you check this? And then once that's done and he makes his professional decision, right? And I can use the camera and show him all that kind of stuff. He might give his recommendation of like, you need a new dishwasher. Or you need a new motherboard because it's doing all the steps of washing, but it's blah, blah, blah. I don't know that. This is the thing is, if I relate to this, how most of us operate is based off of bias when it comes to trainers, right? And I'm not trying to say every trainer is this way. The goal of, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, of Exercise Pro Ed is to help accredited trainers become better, making decisions, to leverage exercise to help the people that they work with, right? And so the only basis I have to describe to our landlord that we pay rent to about what's going on with this dishwasher was based off of my past experience that this exact same thing happened at a condo that we were renting. Exact same thing with the dishwasher. And that landlord was the biggest headache ever because, I think because that we're young, we were just immature, blah, blah, but like we take care of stuff. And so I was like, dude, I think there's something going on. Guy comes out as a professional. He's like, dude, the motherboard, because what's happening is that it goes through sequencing and then it skips this and goes to that. And that's the only decision I have. So like when the tough thing is I could have, when this dishwasher thing happened the first time here at this place we are now, I could be like, oh, it's the motherboard. Exact same thing, same sequences, all that kind of stuff. And the cool thing is having this person come in virtually and talk to me through this. They might be like, hey, very similar to that situation, but this dishwasher is not the same as that other dishwasher. And so what's actually going on is you need to, quote, I haven't met with him yet, but remove this little lug nut, give it a little jimmy, and hey, it's working, and in my mind, based off my experiences and my bias, I would have said we need a dishwasher. The motherboard's gone. It's going to cost the same as this versus this. And he might be like, nah, bro, like, come on, I'm the professional, and he hopefully does it in a humble way and doesn't talk to me like I'm stupid tomorrow. So, but that's how we operate, is based off bias, but we need to investigate everybody and figure out how their body moves, right? Like you said, Tim, put the personal back in personal training, right? And Charlie, like you said, does that certain move, sorry, that's a term, does that certain exercise or configuration we take somebody through help or hurt, right? And we're investigating constantly to figure those things out. So I thought that was pretty cool with the whole house thing and describing what muscle system specialists do. And the hard part is, I believe, is that nobody's really experienced this. They think they have.
Right.
They think they have. Right? Or, oh, it's similar to this. No, it's not similar to this. And I don't really know how else to do it. And people might think, well, that's just cocky of you. And You know, and I think the funny thing is thinking about it is that's why I think exercise is, I know that only essential businesses are open right now, but I believe exercise is essential for our
Absolutely.
population. It is
Absolutely.
essential.
100%.
Absolutely.
We have unhealthy people all across this nation. I mean, look at the demographic and look at the races that are being hit the hardest, and what's traditionally been found within those communities. I'm African American, I'm Native American, and I'm German. And so like there's certain things, a part of our cultural history, that I pay attention to, like my blood pressure, my blood sugar levels, right? And I'm fine. But it's always been a fear that my mom injected into me at a young age. So I mean, it's there. So yeah, man.
Powerful.
Dude, it is, man. So yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I think that's what's really interesting, right? And if I continue on, maybe we can dive into this a little bit more. But it says we start by doing muscle system specialists. We start by doing an interview process. What are your goals? What's your current health and health history look like? How many traumas have you had? Have you had any surgeries? You know, why is that important? If I can ask you guys that, why is that important?
Oh, it's because it's going to give us a good indication of some capabilities and areas to what we call sample or look at more closely. Similar to, I think we referenced it in the blog, was, you know, an inspector might ask, you know, oh, has this house been in any hurricanes? Has there been any water damage? Has there,
right.
You know, because why would they ask those things, or why are those important? Because those areas might be more vulnerable and might have to check in a little bit more on those.
Love that. Stress to certain areas.
Injuries to the body, trauma to the body, surgeries to the body. They leave their mark.
They sure do.
They leave their mark, and usually they leave their mark in a way that we see stuff show up, and it contributes to folks' current aches and pains. They're things that happened long time ago, long forgotten.
Yeah, man. It's crucial, and we got to know that about that, right? And that's why you essentially hire a house inspector. You know, if I give an example, I guess the reason I think about this is the guy that did my wisdom teeth back in the day. I train him now. I train his wife. They have obviously different needs, but you know, they were looking for a house before all this COVID stuff happened, right? So they wanted to find a new house in a different area, and they thought they found a house. They're like, this is the one, right? Brought the inspector in. The inspector did their work and was like, wait, look at all this water damage behind the wall of this house. Underneath the deck, on the top, he showed me pictures of the house. It was stupid legit, right? I was like, wow, this is beautiful. It's on the water, but they've got all this water damage because of a leak that was preventable within the house. They tried to fix themselves, right? And it essentially took down this whole entire wall. But the outside of the house was where the shingles or where the stuff was, so you wouldn't see it with your eye. And it's like, wait a second. So they were so bummed. They're like, dude, it's going to cost about this to fix it. Then you got to do this. It's like, holy cow. And that's why we hire an inspector, right? They didn't fall into that money pit, right? So It's like, how can we take those steps to make sure that that house can still operate? Or I'm just using the analogy of our bodies. How can we operate? And, you know, it's just, we're all unique. We're all different. And we need somebody to educate us on our own bodies. Right? Like, can we educate people on how you move, how you should move? It doesn't mean you shouldn't strive towards those other goals of moving. Say you want to move like this person, it doesn't mean that you can't to some aspect, but it might not be the exact same. And so I think that's what's crucial and awesome about, and I've enjoyed being a muscle system specialist, is one, meeting all you guys and how you guys think and how we can educate the community. I just see this huge push from our community to educate everybody that uses or leverages exercise on a daily basis to help people move better, feel better. And there's ways to do that in a better manner, you know? And so if we can help educate people on how to take care of their bodies and how they should move, I think it makes a massive difference in, you know, I like exercise now.
Maybe if they shift the focus into the investment, right?
Yeah.
Because the house, the car, anything that's, you know, you're like, oh, I'm investing in this. This needs to be for me for a long period of time, right? But with our bodies, sometimes we didn't even know there's a way to look at that investment
Hmm.
and to make sure that we're making better decisions. So we're trying to educate the community, working with a muscle system specialist. That's the way to go. That's the way to look at your body as an investment, so you get the most out of it.
For sure, man. And I think this was really cool is, and if I go back to the interview process, which I think is one, interview, consultation, whatever you want to call it. It's so crucial to have that, right? Because most time interview process is, oh, I see Charlie. Oh, hey, Tim, you guys are breathing. Let's go exercise, right? And it's like, wait a second, that's not right. Like, what's been really cool is here I have trainers that send their clients to me when they're stuck, right? And I will do my consultation, do everything the same, do my assessment, and then I will be the mechanic for them as the trainer for that person, right? And so I don't take them through a traditional, all right, let's warm up and then go work out. Like, I'm doing what I do as a muscle system specialist and checking with their body. Let's go to this machine, see how it affects your system. Hey, and then I use that as leverage to help that trainer send over a report like, hey, just be mindful of not doing a bunch of, as Charlie said, knee flexion stuff, right? I know that you saw this article and said to develop the hamstrings, you have to do 12 reps or more. And so you're doing that. And it's like when they get to 6 sets or reps, they're not doing very well. So, keep that in mind. And they're like, dude, super grateful for that. And so how we can be used to help other people maintain is going to be helpful, because we know consistency of exercise over time is like an investment. Like you said, it's an investment into our health bank to make sure we're doing the best we can to do that. And if I look up it, I vaguely saw this in the article when I read it, but you guys talked about natural disasters. Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
Right.
That was the history.
Yes, the history, right? So yeah, here we go. The inspector would probably take into the account the history of the house. How old is the house? Had the house been in any fires or hurricanes? Has the house had any leaks or water damage? Was the house in a location that's vulnerable to any natural disasters? I think that that's crucial, because as we train and exercise and use our bodies for life, there's quote unquote, in this analogy, natural disasters that happen. There's things that do happen to our bodies, right? There's life experiences that happen. There's events that happen. And can we make sure that we've invested into our health account or health bank with exercise and take care of our body so that we can be as prepared as possible for this natural disaster? And I think we're in it right now with COVID and seeing that people that are healthy are sustaining much better than if they were not, right? And so I think that if there's a way for us to educate the community to do that, which I think that's where a lot of our hearts are, to take care of our bodies and do that in an efficient manner, we can start to see us become a more resilient population, right? So
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and just like what you were talking about with the virtual dishwasher, assistant, or the guy who's going to help you with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Many of us are doing this virtual as well to help our clients.
Oh yeah.
Now, obviously, the guy would probably love to be a lot easier to go in the house. That'd be the best thing to do, but that's not reality right now. So a lot of us are creating this virtual ways to still help clients to understand their limits and help them with exercise. And more people should get involved with this.
I agree. And I think what's cool about what you just said too, Tim, is the virtual aspect of things. Like I've got a virtual or online process as best as I can with people. And the cool thing that's encouraging to me is I'm hearing more and more people, I'm getting more calls from parents than athletes. Athletes are probably doing okay right now. Parents like, dude, I just started running. I ain't got nothing else to do. Started running. I looked up this thing online. I'm doing this exercise program. And I'm like, heck yeah. Like, that's awesome. And they're like, thanks. I'm hurt. Like, yeah, can you help me? Or I've had people be like, can you just sneak me into the gym? I'm like, no, no, I'm not going to sneak you in. Right. And so working with them to be like, hey, what's going on? Doing the interview process still, and then helping them on that journey, and it's crucial, and so it's been pretty interesting to see that, wow, people are realizing that exercise is great and we should do it. We know that we should do it, but I'm hurting now. Right. I remember, I think it's weekend 1 of exercise, a muscle specialist course, where Greg pulls up that cartoon, the newspaper clipping. And it's like, oh, I just started exercising. It's like, what'd you do? And it's like, I ran, 10 miles, did this. And now I'm like hurt all over. And then it says, welcome to the fitness journey or something like that. Because like you're just supposed to be in pain. It's like,
right?
No, we don't have to be, which is interesting,
What happens every January, right? You get everybody's flocks to the gyms, and then by February everybody's out.
For sure. So Charlie, when it comes to leveraging and being a muscle system specialist, and you guys writing this blog post together about inspecting a house, how crucial do you think it is for people to work with, a muscle system specialist and or have somebody check in on their system?
I think extremely crucial. I think, just like we go to the dentist on a regular basis, myself, I wear contacts. So, once a year I'm going to the eye doctor. Every year I get a physical done. I think it's extremely crucial. Life happens. Things happen. Reason why we go to the dentist, because we're using our teeth. Well, there's a lot of us that are using our muscles. Probably, maybe, some more than others, and more than we should, and some not as enough as we should. But we're constantly using our muscles.
Yeah.
And we're unfortunately we're at the point we're on the downward slope of health. So let's use exercise as a tool to slow that down. And as muscle system specialists, let's fill in that role as well to further slow that curve down.
I love it.
Slow it down.
Yeah, man.
Great, Charlie. Yeah, and it's product of what you're talking about with a dentist. Like, all right, well, if you take care of your teeth and you do what you should to maintain or try to, negate any problems from dental health, well, guess what? You can still enjoy steak and chicken, and you can eat these things.
Mm-hmm.
But if you choose not to do that, that's okay. But guess what? I hope you like pudding. Because if your teeth rot out and they fall out, well, guess what? Those are your choices. You're not going to be able to enjoy those things anymore. Well, in the body, same idea. Like, oh, I like to lift, I like to run, I like to do these things, but I'm not getting my muscles checked. And all of a sudden those cause pain and I'm not doing them. Well, okay, I hope you like to walk. Guess what? You might not be able to do that because the quality of your muscle system is the quality of how you move.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if you have high quality muscle system, you can just do a lot more for a lot longer.
Yeah. I love that, man. And it just makes sense, right? I think what's cool about this paper, guys, is that, like I said earlier, tying in the analogy of the house and not falling into a money pit, but also applying that to us on our health journey. I mean, it's like, dude, it's so crucial. And it makes sense because we do it with so many other things within our lives. We do it with our cars. We do it with our, like I said, the dentist. We do it with the physical. We check in all the time. We maintain things. And so we need somebody to check in on our muscular system and how we're doing.
And kind of back to the dishwasher thing, like, okay, dishwasher's not working so well, but there's other parts of your house that are. And the body, there's certain parts that, okay, you need to pay attention to, but other parts are fine and you can exercise those really, really well. But it's just good to know. Oh,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Health is wealth. You'll avoid the money pit, the healthier you are.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing that right now. Absolutely. We're seeing it, we're living it, which is pretty wild. And I think it's opening people's eyes to certain things, right? And that they're in control of some things. Essentially, they're in control of what they can do to invest in themselves, take care of their bodies. And then you just prepare your body for things that can happen, like what's going on with COVID. So it's great, man. Guys, hey, this was great, man. And guys, I'm going to post this in the show notes so you guys can check out this blog post they wrote. It's very well done. And it kind of is laid out in a way to where really anybody can understand what we're trying to say and why it's important to work with a muscle system specialist. And so guys, I appreciate you guys coming on. I'll link again where you guys can find them on social media and their websites and stuff like I did in the first one. But guys, thank you so much for coming on this episode of Clay's Cortex, the podcast, and just sharing your guys' collaboration of this blog post. And it was just great to talk about it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Curtis.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, I'll tell you guys, we're gonna be signing out, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see them and hear from them again on Clay's Cortex, the podcast. All right, guys, have a good rest of your day and enjoy your day.